Emma woke to a sharp cry slicing through the quiet house, a sound so raw it made her heart drop before she even recognized it as Liam's. She rushed down the hallway and found him curled on the floor, clutching his shoulder, his breath shaking in short gasps. "Liam, what happened?" she whispered, but he flinched as if her voice burned. Daniel stumbled in behind her, still half asleep, but the moment his eyes fell on the scorched symbol carved into their son's skin, the color drained from his face. He didn't speak. He couldn't. Emma saw it immediately. He knew exactly what that mark meant. Liam tried to stand but collapsed into her arms, trembling, whispering, "I didn't want to. They said you'd get hurt." Emma's fear twisted into something colder, heavier. Who were they? And why had they touched her child? Before she could ask again, the lights flickered. A low thud hit the front door, and the house sank into a silence so complete it felt like a warning. Emma's pulse hammered as she stepped toward the entryway, knowing, without understanding why, that their lives had just crossed a line they couldn't step back over. Emma's legs nearly gave out as she moved toward the front door, each step echoing louder than the last. Daniel grabbed her arm, whispering, "Don't!" But the fear in his voice only sharpened her determination. Behind them, Liam tried to stand but sank back to the floor, his breath thin and ragged. The house felt colder, smaller, as if the walls were listening. "What was that mark?" Emma asked, her voice low and shaking. Daniel didn't answer. His silence was an answer in itself. Emma pulled away from him and reached for the doorknob, her heart hammering in her ears. For a moment, everything stood still. The wind outside, the flickering lights, even Liam's whimpers. Then she pulled the door open. A blast of icy air rushed in, carrying the scent of smoke and something metallic. No one stood outside. Only a wooden plank lay at the doorstep, carved with a symbol that matched the one burned into Liam's skin. Emma's fingers trembled as she reached for it, knowing instinctively that whoever left it hadn't gone far. Emma carried the wooden plank inside, its weight far heavier than its size should allow. Liam's eyes widened the moment he saw the carved symbol, and he shrank back against the wall. Daniel tried to take it from her, but she pulled it close, refusing to let it leave her hands. "Tell me what this means," she demanded. He looked away, jaw tight. His silence cracked something inside her. The house hummed faintly, the heater kicking on, but even that familiar sound felt wrong now. Liam whispered, "They said if I talk, if I even try." His voice broke. Emma knelt beside him, the plank resting across her knees. "You're safe here," she insisted. But even as she said it, she felt her certainty slipping. Daniel finally spoke, his voice barely above a breath. "Emma, you need to listen before things get worse. Worse." The word hung heavy, thicker than the cold air. Emma stared at him, feeling the tide of danger rising fast. Daniel paced the room, running a hand through his hair as if trying to scrub away the truth. Emma watched him, feeling the distance between them stretching wider with every second. "You know something," she said. "You know something," she said. "Stop pretending you don't." Daniel froze, shoulders hunched. Liam shifted uncomfortably, pulling the collar of his shirt up to cover the burn mark. The sight of him hiding like that broke Emma in a way she didn't expect. When Daniel finally spoke, his voice cracked. "I thought it was over. I thought leaving them meant they'd never find us." Emma felt the floor tilt beneath her. "Leaving who?" Daniel swallowed hard. "The Black Lanterns." The name itself felt heavy, dangerous. Liam flinched. Emma's breath caught. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the relentless whisper of falling snow outside. Everything she thought she knew about her family suddenly felt like a fragile shell. Emma stepped closer to Daniel, her voice trembling with anger and fear. "You brought this into our home?" Daniel shook his head. "I left it years ago. Marcus swore he'd never let me walk away clean. Liam's breath hitched at the name. Emma's mind raced, connecting threads she didn't know she'd been collecting. Liam's recent late nights, his withdrawn behavior, the fear in his eyes. What did he do to our son? She whispered. Daniel looked shattered. He's punishing me, and he's not finished. Emma felt her heart pound so hard it hurt. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows. Liam whispered, I didn't want to go, but they said they'd hurt you. Emma wrapped her arms around him immediately, holding him tightly as if she could shield him from the world. For the first time, she realized the danger wasn't coming. It was already here. Emma stood at the edge of the living room, arms wrapped tightly around herself as Daniel finally spoke. His words came slowly, as though each one cut deeper than the last. The Black Lanterns don't forget, he said. They brand their recruits. Anyone who tries to leave pays. Emma felt her stomach twist. She looked toward Liam, curled on the couch, hugging a blanket to his chest. His eyes wouldn't meet hers. Why our son? She whispered. Daniel shook his head, unable to look at either of them. Marcus wanted leverage. He wanted to hurt me where it mattered most. The silence between them grew thick. Emma knelt beside Liam, brushing his hair gently. You should have told me, she said to Daniel without turning. You should have trusted me before this became a nightmare. Daniel exhaled shakily. I thought we were safe. I thought they'd moved on. Emma felt a cold certainty settle in her chest. Nothing was safe anymore, not with a group like that marking their son as if he belonged to them. Emma followed Daniel into the kitchen, her footsteps sharp against the tile. Start from the beginning, she demanded. Daniel braced himself against the counter, staring at the swirling snow outside as if hoping the storm could answer for him. Marcus and I were kids, he began. The lanterns promised power, money, control. I was foolish. Emma's jaw tightened. And dangerous. Daniel didn't argue. When I met you, I tried to leave. Marcus said I was betraying family. He swore that if I walked away, he'd take something from me someday. Emma felt a chill crawl across her arms. And Liam was the price. Daniel's silence said enough. From the doorway, Liam's small voice cut through the tension. Marcus said if I didn't listen, he'd come for you, Mom. Emma turned sharply, her heart breaking and burning at the same time. She knelt and held Liam's shaking hands. No one is taking you. Not now, not ever. But even as she said it, she saw Daniel close his eyes, knowing the truth. Marcus wasn't finished. Liam sat at the kitchen table, picking at the edge of a napkin as Emma warmed tea for him. Daniel kept pacing, muttering under his breath. The storm outside grew heavier, wind hitting the windows in sharp bursts. They made me run messages, Liam whispered suddenly. Emma froze. What kind of messages? Liam shook his head. I don't know. They never let me read. They just said Marcus wanted me to prove I wasn't a coward. Daniel slammed his fist lightly against the wall. He wanted to get to me. Using you is the perfect way. Emma set the tea down and gently lifted Liam's chin. Why didn't you tell us? His lip trembled. Because they said you'd die if I did. Emma's heart fractured. She pulled him close, vowing silently that no one would ever threaten him again. Daniel turned away, guilt twisting his face. This is on me, he whispered. Emma looked at him with fire in her eyes. Then you're going to help fix it. Daniel finally stopped pacing and faced them. I'm going to Marcus, he said. Emma shot to her feet. Absolutely not. Liam grabbed her arm, eyes wide with panic. Daniel lifted his hands. I won't let him touch our boy again. If I go alone, maybe he'll leave you both out of it. Emma shook her head fiercely. You think he wants peace? He wants control. And once he has you, we'll never see you again. Daniel's silence was confirmation. Liam's voice cracked. Dad, Please, don't go. The room thickened with fear. Emma stepped closer to Daniel, lowering her voice. We face this together, all of us, or we lose before we even start. Daniel looked at both of them, his family, and something in his expression softened, though fear still clung to him. Then we need help, Emma said. Someone who knows what Marcus is capable of. Daniel swallowed hard. There's only one person who does. Emma already knew who he meant. The knock at the door was firm, controlled, nothing like the threat from earlier. Daniel opened it slowly, while Emma pulled Liam close. A tall man in a dark coat stepped inside, brushing snow from his shoulders. Detective Rowan Pierce. His presence filled the room like a heavy anchor. You said it was urgent, he said, scanning their faces. Daniel nodded. Marcus is back. The detective's expression hardened instantly. I figured this day might come. Emma stepped forward. Our son is in danger. We need help. Pierce studied Liam for a long moment before nodding. The lanterns are escalating. You're not the only family they've targeted recently. Emma's stomach tightened. So what do we do? Pierce lowered himself into a chair, his voice steady but grim. Before we fight back, we need to know exactly what Marcus wants, and how far he's willing to go. Emma glanced at Liam, and felt a cold truth settle over her. Marcus wasn't just sending warnings. He was coming for them. Detective Pierce sat forward, elbows on his knees, as Daniel explained everything. The mark, Marcus, the threats, the messages Liam had been forced to deliver. Emma kept her hand on Liam's shoulder, grounding him. The detective's face darkened with every sentence. This is worse than I thought, he muttered. Marcus isn't just recruiting anymore. He's expanding and using a kid, your kid, as leverage. That means he's desperate or unhinged. Liam's breath caught. I didn't want to help them, he whispered. I tried to say no. Emma pulled him closer. You're not to blame for any of this. Daniel looked down, shame twisting his face. It's my fault. Pierce shook his head. Fault doesn't matter right now. Survival does. His voice dropped. If Marcus marked Liam, he isn't done. This was step one. Emma felt a cold wave move through her. Then what's step two? Pierce exchanged a grave look with Daniel. He'll want the boy back, and he'll want you terrified before he makes his next move. Pierce spread several papers across the table. Maps, photos, names written in bold ink. Liam stared at them with wide, fearful eyes. Emma caught his trembling hands and squeezed gently. You don't have to look, she whispered, but Liam shook his head. I want to help. Daniel watched him, torn between pride and guilt. Pierce tapped one photo, a grainy image of Marcus standing beside a graffiti-tagged wall. He runs half his operations out of abandoned places, warehouses, tunnels. But this, he said, pointing to a riverside mill, is new and dangerous. Emma swallowed hard. Is that where he might take Liam again? Pierce didn't answer immediately. It's where I'd place leverage if I were him. Daniel stepped closer. We can't wait. Marcus will strike again. Pierce nodded grimly. Then prepare yourselves. The lanterns don't stop. They break people until they surrender. Emma looked at Liam and felt her resolve harden like steel. She wouldn't surrender, not to anyone. Emma noticed Liam's eyes drifting, fear swallowing him again. She pulled up a chair beside him. Tell me the truth, she said softly. How long has this been happening? Liam hesitated, his fingers curling into the table's edge. A month, he whispered. Maybe more. Daniel inhaled sharply. A month? Liam nodded weakly. They followed me after school. Marcus said if I didn't help, he'd hurt you both. I thought it would stop if I did what he asked. Emma felt heat rise behind her eyes. Anger and heartbreak tangled together. Pierce rubbed his forehead. He groomed the boy. Classic lantern tactic. Liam looked down, tears threatening. I'm sorry, he whispered. Emma lifted his chin gently. Never apologize for surviving. Daniel stepped closer, voice cracking. We'll fix this. Pierce's tone hardened. Then you need to understand, Marcus didn't choose Liam randomly. He chose him because of you. Emma turned sharply toward Daniel, shock tightening her chest. Daniel nodded slowly. This is my past coming back, and it's tearing our family apart. The wind howled louder outside as the storm reached its peak. Pierce stood by the window, watching the snow whip sideways. Marcus will move soon, he said. He doesn't like waiting. If he feels Daniel slipping from his control, he'll push harder. Emma felt her stomach twist. What does that mean? Pierce turned, his eyes heavy. It means Liam isn't safe in this house anymore. Liam tensed, pulling closer to Emma. Daniel stepped forward. Where do we take him? Pierce hesitated. Safe houses exist, but the lanterns have eyes everywhere. Moving him could expose you faster. Emma's frustration burned. So staying is dangerous. Leaving is dangerous. What option does that leave us? Pierce sighed. We prepare. And we watch. Marcus will reveal his hand soon. When he does, we strike first. Daniel nodded, but Emma heard something outside, faint footsteps crunching through snow. She froze. Did you hear that? The room stilled instantly. Pierce's hand moved toward his coat. The storm wasn't the only thing approaching. The footsteps grew louder, slow, deliberate, crunching against the frozen ground. Emma held Liam tight, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Pierce motioned for everyone to stay still as he moved toward the front door, silent but steady. Daniel positioned himself behind him, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. The house seemed to shrink around them, every sound amplified by fear. The steps stopped. A long pause followed. Too long, too intentional. Emma felt Liam shiver in her arms. Then came a soft tapping. 3 slow knocks that echoed through the house like a warning. Pierce signaled Daniel to stand back as he grasped the handle. Stay behind me, he whispered. Emma closed her eyes briefly, praying it wasn't Marcus. Pierce swung the door open. A blast of cold wind rushed in. But no one stood outside. Only a small object hung from the porch light. A black ribbon tied to a metal tag engraved with a symbol Emma immediately recognized. The same symbol burned into Liam's skin. A message, a reminder, and a threat. The metal tag swung gently in the cold wind, tapping a quiet rhythm against the porch light. Emma stared at it as though it might suddenly speak. Pierce pulled it down carefully, studying the engraved symbol. This isn't just a warning, he said. It's a claim. Daniel swore under his breath and stepped back inside. Slamming the door shut, Liam hovered near Emma, shaking as she placed her hand on his. They know where we live, she murmured. They always knew, Pierce replied. Marcus doesn't make empty threats. Emma felt her heart twist as Liam leaned against her. She wanted to shield him from everything, but she could feel danger tightening around them like a closing fist. Pierce pocketed the tag. We can't stay here. Not tonight. Daniel paced across the room. Where do we go? A safe house? Pierce hesitated. Maybe. But Marcus has eyes everywhere. Emma drew a trembling breath. Then we move carefully. Quickly. The detective nodded. Pack essentials. We leave in 10 minutes. Emma squeezed Liam's hand. 10 minutes to outrun a nightmare. The house buzzed with frantic movement as they gathered what they could. Emma packed Liam's backpack, clothes, water, his inhaler, anything she thought he might need. Liam sat on the edge of the bed, hunched and distant. Mom, he whispered. I didn't want any of this. Emma stopped and brushed his cheek. I know. None of this is your fault. Down the hall, Daniel shoved clothes into a duffel bag, muttering curses under his breath. Pierce moved through the house with surgical precision, checking windows, corners, exits. We need to go now, he urged. Emma helped Liam to his feet as the wind howled outside like a living thing. She felt the weight of every second pressing down. "Where will we sleep?" Liam asked. Emma hesitated, her voice soft. "Someplace safer than here." Daniel appeared in the doorway, his face grim. "Cars ready." Emma grabbed Liam's hand, and together they stepped into the freezing night, unaware that someone had been watching from the tree line. They stepped outside into the storm. The wind sliced across Emma's cheeks, numbing her skin instantly. Pierce led the group toward the car, scanning every direction. Daniel kept close behind, gripping the keys so tightly they dug into his palm. Liam clung to Emma's coat sleeve, his breath puffing into thin clouds. As they neared the vehicle, a strange silence cut through the storm. No wind, no crunch of snow, just a sudden emptiness. Pierce froze. "Everyone stay still." Emma's heart pounded as the detective's hand drifted toward his concealed weapon. Daniel stepped in front of Liam instinctively. The silence stretched unnaturally until a distant noise cracked through it, a branch snapping in the woods. Then another. Emma felt a cold dread creep up her spine. "They're here," Daniel whispered. Pierce's jaw tightened. "Get in the car. Now." Emma grabbed Liam's hand and ran toward the back door. But the moment she reached for the handle, headlights flared in the dark behind them. Two vehicles, engines growling like predators. The engines roared closer. Pierce shouted for everyone to get down as the first vehicle skidded across the snow, stopping sideways and blocking their escape route. Emma shielded Liam with her body as Daniel lunged forward, trying to pull them toward the car. The second vehicle stopped just behind them, boxing them. Dark figures stepped out. Men in heavy coats, faces shadowed. "Back inside," Pierce yelled, but it was too late. One of the men lunged, grabbing Emma's arm. She fought back, pulling Liam behind her, but the snow made her slip. Daniel charged forward, tackling the man, sending both crashing into the drift. Liam screamed as another figure reached for him. Pierce fired a warning shot into the air, but the wind swallowed the sound. The men kept advancing. Emma scrambled to her feet, pulling Liam with her. But as she turned, a third figure appeared behind them, quick, precise, and silent. A cloth pressed against Emma's mouth. She gasped, pushing Liam away. He stumbled back, just as two arms grabbed him, dragging him into the storm. Emma collapsed to her knees, coughing from whatever chemical had soaked the cloth. Her vision blurred, snow twisting into streaks of white and gray. She blinked wildly, searching for Liam. She heard him scream her name. Once, sharp, terrified. Then silence. Pierce dragged Emma to her feet, shouting something she couldn't hear over the pounding in her head. Daniel stumbled through the snow, slipping as he tried to chase the disappearing figures. "Liam," he screamed, voice cracking with raw agony. The men shoved Liam into the back of one of the vehicles as its engine roared to life. Emma tried to run, but her legs buckled. Pierce held her upright as the tires spun, kicking up a cloud of powdery snow. Daniel reached the car too late, slamming his hands against the window as it sped away, carrying their son into the darkness. The other vehicle reversed violently, cutting off Pierce as he drew his gun again. The vehicles vanished into the storm, their red taillights swallowed by blinding white. Emma's scream cut through the air, a sound so raw it barely sounded human. Liam was gone. The house felt hollow without Liam. Emma paced the living room, unable to stop replaying the moment he was dragged away. Daniel sat hunched forward on the couch, elbows on his knees, face buried in his shaking hands. Pierce stood near the window, radio pressed to his ear, speaking in clipped commands to backup units. "We found tire tracks," he finally said. "Two vehicles, heading toward the river district." Emma felt her pulse spike. "Then what are we waiting for?" Pierce hesitated. "That part of town is Lantern territory. They'll expect us." Daniel stood, eyes burning with fury. "Good." Pierce turned toward him. "This isn't a rescue mission." "It's a trap. Marcus wants you angry, desperate." If we walk in blind, Liam pays the price. Emma stepped between them. Then we don't walk in blind. We go smart. We go prepared. The detective nodded reluctantly. There's an abandoned mill downriver. It matches the patterns we've seen in lantern movement. Emma met Daniel's eyes. Then that's where they have him, and they both knew. They were going, no matter what waited inside. They loaded into Pierce's unmarked SUV, the engine rumbling beneath them as snow continued to fall. Emma sat in the front seat, fists clenched in her lap. Daniel quietly loaded a shotgun into the back, checking the chamber with trembling fingers. "You don't need that," Pierce warned. Daniel shot him a hollow look. "They took my son." The drive felt endless. Abandoned warehouses and dark alleyways slid past the windows like ghosts. Emma stared straight ahead, fighting the panic clawing at her throat. "What if he's hurt?" she whispered. Pierce answered softly. "Marcus needs him alive for now." Daniel swore quietly, gripping the door handle until his knuckles whitened. The closer they got to the river, the thicker the fog became, rising off the water like smoke. Emma felt her chest tighten. "It feels wrong," Pierce nodded. "This is where the lanterns operate. Fear is part of their brand." As they turned down a narrow road, the silhouette of the abandoned mill appeared, broken, massive, waiting like an open mouth, ready to swallow them whole. The SUV rolled to a stop near the riverbank. The abandoned mill towered above them. Windows shattered. Metal siding rusted and groaning in the wind. A faint orange glow flickered from deep inside, pulsing like a heartbeat. Emma stepped out, boots sinking into snow as the wind whipped her coat. "He's in there," she whispered. Pierce scanned the perimeter with a flashlight. "We move carefully." Lanterns like ambush points. Daniel gripped the shotgun tighter. "I'm not leaving without him." Inside the mill, faint echoes drifted. Footsteps, voices, the slow hum of machinery long dead. Emma felt every hair on her arms rise. They slipped through a broken doorway, the smell of damp concrete and burned rubber hitting instantly. Pierce motioned for silence. Shadows danced along the walls as they advanced. Emma's mind raced. Was Liam tied up? Hurt? Liam tied up? Terrified? Every second felt like a lifetime. A sudden metallic clang echoed from deeper within. Emma flinched. Pierce whispered, "They know we're here." Daniel stepped forward. "Good." Emma followed, fear and determination twisting into something fierce. Inside, the mill felt like a maze. Steel catwalks overhead, dripping pipes and the distant echo of movement. Emma's heart thudded painfully as she climbed a narrow stairwell. Pierce moved quietly ahead, weapon drawn. Daniel brought up the rear, every step tense. A faint voice drifted through the rafters, young, trembling. Emma froze. "Liam." She surged forward, but Pierce caught her arm. Slow. "They want you to run." Daniel's face twisted with rage. Marcus knows exactly what he's doing. They edged forward until they reached a central chamber, illuminated by several makeshift lanterns. In the middle stood a large chair with ropes dangling from it. Empty. Emma's breath hitched. "Where is he?" A soft laugh echoed from somewhere above. Cold, cruel, unmistakably familiar. "You finally came. Danny," a voice called. Daniel stiffened. Emma looked up at the shadowed catwalk where Marcus stood, leaning casually against the railing. "I've been waiting," he taunted. Emma's stomach dropped. Liam was nowhere in sight. Emma's chest tightened as she stared up at Marcus. "Where is my son?" she demanded, her voice breaking. Marcus smiled, slow and venomous. "Close. Closer than you think." Daniel stepped forward. "If you touched him..." Marcus raised a finger. You don't get to make threats here." Pierce angled his gun. "Let the boy go," Marcus laughed. Relax, detective. The kid's useful. A sudden shuffle echoed behind a stack of crates. Emma spun around just in time to see Liam stumble into view. His hands tied, face bruised, eyes red from crying. Emma surged toward him, but Marcus slammed his boot against the railing. "Move one step, and I make things worse." Daniel trembled with rage. Liam whispered, "Mom, Dad." Before a Lantern member yanked him back, Emma's scream filled the chamber. Marcus leaned forward, smiling down at the chaos he'd crafted. "Tonight's just beginning," he said softly. "And only one of you leaves with him." Emma felt her world tilt. The nightmare had only just opened its jaws. "Mordis, she, Q." Emma's pulse roared in her ears as Liam was pulled farther into the shadows. Daniel raised the shotgun, hands shaking with fury, but Marcus only smirked down from the catwalk. "Go ahead," he taunted. Shoot. Let's see which direction your aim slips." Pierce stepped forward, voice low and steady. "Stand down, Marcus." The man laughed, a hollow sound echoing through the metal rafters. "Detective, you've been chasing ghosts too long. This is bigger than you." Emma could barely breathe. Liam's eyes locked on hers, wide and pleading. She took a step toward him, but the Lantern member jerked him back again. Marcus leaned farther over the railing. "Daniel," he drawled, "you ran from us once, but you didn't run far enough." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Let him go." Marcus' smile widened. "You want him? Then come earn him." A sudden clatter echoed from deeper in the mill, shouting, "Footsteps!" Pierce's backup forming a perimeter. Marcus's expression hardened. "Looks like we're out of time." And Emma knew things were about to explode. The first gunshot cracked through the mill like lightning. Emma ducked instinctively as Pierce fired at a Lantern member lunging from the shadows. "Move!" he shouted. The room erupted into chaos. Shouts, footsteps, metallic clangs. Daniel sprinted toward the crates where Liam had been held, but another lantern blocked his path, tackling him to the floor. Emma rushed forward, grabbing a loose metal bar and swinging instinctively, knocking the attacker off balance. Daniel shoved the man aside and scrambled to his feet. "Lullum!" he shouted, voice cracking. Emma spotted their son being dragged toward a side corridor. She didn't think, she just ran. Marcus called from above, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Bring the boy upstairs." The lanterns obeyed, pulling Liam toward a metal stairwell. Pierce fired again. "Emma, stay close." But she ignored him, her entire world narrowing to her son's fading silhouette. The catwalk above trembled with footsteps, and Emma felt the terror rising like fire. They were losing him again. Emma reached the bottom of the stairwell just as Liam was hauled upward. She grabbed the railing, breath sharp and fast, and raced after them. Daniel stumbled behind her, disorient but determined. Pierce covered their flank, firing controlled shots that echoed like thunder. As Emma climbed, she heard Liam's choked cries above her. "Mom!" She pushed harder, her hands shaking as she gripped the cold metal steps. At the top, the platform stretched into a long catwalk that creaked beneath her weight. The two lantern members shoved Liam forward, dragging him toward a room with a heavy steel door. Marcus walked ahead of them, calm and unhurried. "You always were predictable, Emma," he called. "A mother's fear. So easy to use." Emma's fury surged. "Let him go." Marcus tilted his head, amused. "Or what?" Daniel appeared beside her, eyes blazing. "Or I finish what I shed years ago." The lanterns hesitated, and for the first time, Marcus's confidence cracked. Emma lunged forward, her hand closing around Liam's arm just as the lanterns tried to shove him through the steel door. "Let him go!" she screamed, pulling with all her strength. One of the men slammed his fist into her side, sending a burst of pain through her ribs, but she didn't release him. Daniel seized the second lantern, slamming him against the railing so hard, The metal groaned. Pierce rushed up the stairs, firing a shot that ricocheted off the railing and sent sparks flying. Marcus stepped back, eyes narrowing. "Enough," he snapped. "End them." The lantern moved to strike Emma again, but suddenly a figure burst from the doorway behind Marcus. Jessa Wren. She shoved her father hard, shouting, "Stop hurting him." Marcus stumbled, shock flashing across his face. "Jessa?" Liam stared at her, disbelief mixing with fear. The moment of confusion was enough. Daniel hurled the lantern off Emma, sending him sprawling. Emma pulled Liam behind her, shielding him. Marcus's expression twisted into fury. "You betrayed your own blood," he snarled. Jessa stood trembling but did not back down. Marcus recovered quickly, fury twisting his features as he lunged toward Jessa. "You ungrateful!" Before he could finish, Daniel slammed into him, pinning him against the railing. The shotgun clattered across the catwalk. The two men fought brutally, fists landing with sickening force. Emma pulled Liam close, working frantically to free the knot around his wrists. Pierce covered them, firing at approaching lanterns below. Marcus twisted violently, breaking free of Daniel's grip and shoving him toward the edge. Daniel's foot slipped, steel groaned. Emma screamed. Marcus raised a blade, ready to strike. But Jessa lunged, grabbing his arm. "No!" Marcus turned on her, eyes wild. "You betray me for them?" Jessa trembled. For Liam in that split second, Pierce fired. Marcus jerked backward, eyes widening with shock as he toppled over the railing. He fell hard onto the mill floor below, motionless. Silence swept through the mill. Emma held Liam tightly. Daniel steadied himself, and Jessa sank to her knees, trembling. The chain was finally broken. The mill felt strangely silent after the crash of Marcus's fall. Emma held Liam so tightly she feared she might crush him, but he clung to her with equal desperation, burying his face against her coat. Daniel leaned heavily against the railing, breathing hard, staring down at the motionless body below. Pierce cautiously descended the catwalk, weapon still drawn, checking for any lingering threats. "It's over," he finally said, voice rough. Emma closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. Over. But as Liam trembled in her arms, she realized nothing about this would be simple. Healing wouldn't come overnight. Daniel stepped closer and touched Liam's shoulder gently, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry for everything." Liam looked up at him with tear-streaked cheeks. "I just wanted us to be safe." Emma wrapped both of them in her arms, holding her family tightly as the distant wail of sirens approached. The nightmare was ending. But the weight of what they'd survived settled quietly over. Paramedics arrived quickly, rushing into the mill with flashlights and medical kits. Emma stayed beside Liam while a medic checked his pulse and examined the bruises on his wrists. He winced, but didn't pull away. Daniel hovered nearby, unable to stop staring at his son as though afraid Liam might vanish again if he blinked. Pierce spoke with officers near the entrance, giving a rundown of the confrontation and gesturing toward Marcus' body. When the medic asked Liam if he felt dizzy or nauseous, he whispered, "Just scared." Emma brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "You're safe now." Daniel knelt beside them, his voice soft. "We're going home together." Liam nodded, though his eyes flickered with lingering fear. As they walked out of the mill, Emma felt the crisp night air wash over her. Colder, but somehow cleaner. She held Liam's hand tightly while Daniel stayed close on his other side. For the first time since the nightmare began, they were leaving danger behind, stepping into the uncertain but hopeful quiet of dawn. Back home, the silence felt unfamiliar. Emma guided Liam to the couch, wrapping him in a warm blanket. Daniel sat beside him, unable to break the long, trembling exhale that left his chest. Pierce stood at the doorway, his coat still dusted with snow. "You'll need protection for a while," he said. "The lanterns want to regroup fast, but their roots run deep." Emma nodded, her fingers brushing through Liam's hair. "We'll do whatever it takes." Daniel lifted his eyes, voice low. Jessa, what happens to her? Pierce softened. She'll be taken into protection. She saved your son. That means something. Liam curled closer to Emma. She didn't want any of it, he whispered. Emma kissed his forehead gently. You're safe. That's what matters now. Pierce approached Daniel and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. But healing starts today. Daniel nodded, eyes glistening. As Pierce left, the house finally felt still, tired, bruised, but alive. And that was enough. Days passed, bringing slow but steady healing. Liam didn't sleep alone at first, waking from nightmares with shaken breaths. Emma comforted him through each one, whispering gently until he fell asleep again. Daniel worked to regain his son's trust, sitting with him, talking through memories, apologizing for every secret he had hidden. Their home gradually shifted from a place of fear back to something warm. One afternoon, Liam sat at the table drawing quietly, dark lines turning into something hopeful. Emma watched him, tears stinging her eyes. Daniel placed an arm around her shoulders. He's strong, Daniel murmured. Stronger than me. Emma leaned into him. He had no choice, but now he gets to live without fear. Liam glanced up at them and offered a small, shy smile. Emma returned it with all the love she had left in her. The wound wasn't gone, but it was beginning to scar in a way that meant survival. Emma stood on the back porch that evening, watching snow drift across the yard like feathers. Daniel joined her, Liam following a moment later, wrapped in his thick jacket. I want to make something, Liam said quietly. Something that's ours, not theirs. Emma exchanged a glance with Daniel, then nodded. Together they brought out a small wooden board and a carving knife. Liam held it carefully, hands steady for the first time in weeks. What should it say? He asked. Emma placed a hand on his back. Whatever you want our future to be. Liam thought for a moment, then carved slowly, carefully. We choose truth. Daniel exhaled softly, emotion cracking his voice. Emma wrapped her arms around both of them as Liam held up the finished carving. The words simple but powerful. The night felt peaceful in a way Emma hadn't felt in years. Their world wasn't perfect, but it was theirs again. And for the first time, the future felt open, bright, and real.